Carolina This Week with Tim McGinnis.
Good morning and thanks for joining us for Carolina This Week. This week we continue our tour of 7th Congressional District candidates. We look at the Democrats this time and Harry Pavilack, who just announced this week that he is going to run for the seat. Welcome.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
First question for you, I just want to get it out of the way because I know that there's going to be a lot of talk about the debt that you announced a few years ago as your business was collapsing. $72 million, something to the tune of that.
Yes.
Can you tell me what the latest is with that and anything you have to say about that?
That's sort of winding down now, and I know the trustees said that they're trying to wind it up. It's been going about 18 months, but actually I never did file bankruptcy. I was put in bankruptcy. They call it an involuntary bankruptcy. It's real rare. There are about 5 a year in this state, and I really think it was a play by some of the people that were owed money to. There has to be generally 3 or 4 banks that sign the petition, and once they sign it, they can put anybody into bankruptcy, and that's what happened in my case. I would never voluntarily file bankruptcy. After they put me into bankruptcy, then we went through the different stages of bankruptcy, and supposedly the trustee says that they're trying to finish it up now.
Can you be a good steward of the taxpayers' money in light of this, do you think?
I think so. I just got caught in this real estate catastrophe that everyone else did. I think we're in a depression right now. Usually they take about 10 years. We've been through 5, and I don't see too much change right now. I think it'll run another 4, and then it'll be over. I mean, I was caught in some deals where the properties that were sold, in fact, one sold lately for 2% of what I owed, so that means the property went down 98%. So I've been in real estate about 40 years. Both sides of my family have been in it 50 years on each side, and I don't make mistakes like that, but we got caught into this, if you want to call it a deep recession or a depression, which we're not trained for that, either in dealing in real estate or going through economics in college and law school and the tax school and the whole works.
Why are you running for Congress now? I ask this of every candidate.
I don't know. I was thinking, and this thing's sort of slowing down now, and I don't have that much to do, and I really think that I can help this situation. I can help the people. I read and study a lot, especially on the weekend. I read the Wall Street Journal, New York Times, and Barron's, and the whole works, and I think I have a pretty good idea of the world economy, and this is a world economy situation now. A lot of these people are running for office, but can they run a world situation? Now, they might be able to go to Columbia and deal on a local state level, but this thing is getting nasty. It's getting very nasty. I mean, we've lost a lot of our plants. I've owned a couple mills, which we sold, but there are mills shut down. I've been to a lot of them: North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, and they're all empty. And we just missed it. You know, China came in these foreign countries, and they shut them down, and they took all this business overseas. And a lot of our people, and I think whether it was in Washington or our state people in Columbia, you know, what did they do to stop it, especially since 2000? There are so many mills that are closed. I know in Marion, the employment's 22% with people without jobs. I think somebody said the other night in Dillon, it's 3 people, one of them has a job, and I know Chester's 22%. You know, when you get down to it, the reason it's a world situation, even in Myrtle Beach, you know, we want to sell condos. Who's going to buy a condo if they don't have a job? And who's going to come to Myrtle Beach for a big holiday if they don't have a job? So it's all tied together, and it's all part of this world economy. And China has a way of getting our companies. One thing they want is the technology. Once they get it over there and they have our technology, then they can say goodbye.
What would you do to bring jobs to places like Dillon, Marlborough County, other parts of our viewing area that have been particularly hard hit by the recession?
Well, I would have been working on it all along. I wouldn't let all these factories just shut down, especially since the middle 90s until where we are now, because they're shut down, they're gone. And even the factories that I had, one of them, they have some huge environmental problems because those factories were built maybe 100 years ago, and all these things that they were working on went into the ground. So the environmental problems on a lot of those buildings are really bad. But what would I do? I might do the same thing China does. I might go over there or go to different parts in the world and find people and bring them here and let them make an American a partner. Like anytime you go to China to set up with a company, you can't set it up unless you have a Chinese partner. Even the car dealers over there, General Motors is over there right now, has a Chinese partner. The government of China came to General Motors lately and said, look, if you'll give your partner the technology on an electric car, we'll give you a check for $25,000 for each car you produce. It has nothing to do with buying and selling, we'll just give you an extra check. And General Motors said no. But that's the way they operate. They want the technology. Once they have the technology, then they can tell you goodbye.
I-73 is something a lot of people in this area want somebody representing the 7th District to go to Washington to fight for. What do you think about I-73? Do we need it? And if so, what would you do to bring it here?
I think it would be good for this economy. And I mean, what's crazy about it, though, is how many years have they been working on it? I think there was some mention of what you did the other night where you had those interviews. It's been years and years on 73, and you wonder, is it possible to finish 73? And then some other people brought up, well, maybe we could widen some of these other roads, you know, 22 or 1, or yeah, 22, and he mentioned another one. You know, that's a tough one because I don't know why it went so long, and especially since now they have Obama's hands tied. You know, this is a big fight in Washington. They don't want Obama to spend any more money because he owes $16 trillion. And all those roads and different things are going to take money, a lot of money. So where will you get the money? I would say one way to do it, and what you're going to have to do if you want 73, you're going to have to do all toll roads. You're going to have tolls. And now I know Cuomo in Washington, he was on the front page of the New York Times Sunday. He has all kind of deals coming up because New York is in real bad shape, Syracuse, all those cities. And maybe work a deal where you give the big company the job, and then they could also get the tolls, and they might put up a lot of money to start building it. He's working on something like that. So that way we don't have to put any money out of our pockets. We don't have to get any money from Washington. Give them, and that way they can go to the bank and borrow the money to start building the roads because they can assign the future tolls. In fact, some of these states like Washington and Nevada now are borrowing money now on their future receipts from gambling 6 months into the future. And that's another thing. Should we have gambling here or not? But I'm just telling you, a lot of these states are so hard up for money, they're doing anything to raise cash.
Well, you brought it up. Should we have gambling here?
You know, I'm not into gambling that much, tell you the truth. Maybe you think I am because of the first question you asked me. But I'm not into gambling. I don't like gambling that much. But people are doing it out of necessity. You know, I mean, there are more and more, I think there are more and more states are passing gambling. You know, Massachusetts and New York. I know I was in New York City lately, and I went there to see a man. He said, well, I got 2 other men. We're going to go to Aqueduct Racetrack. Let's go today. We went to Aqueduct, could stay there all day. I was dead tired because between the races and Aqueduct, they're betting the races in Miami at Gulfstream. So I was tired. And then at 6 o'clock, he says, now we're going over here. There was a building there that was bigger than anything I've ever seen, a casino that New York built. All slot machines. You know, they're just trying to get money in every direction. I think they built one there, and they're building, and they have one built at the other racetrack in Belmont. But all these states are looking for ways to get money. Another thing that's really hurting these states are their retirement funds. Like if a fireman in New York City gets $100,000 a year, when he retires, he gets $100,000 a year until he dies in a lot of these places, and they're having a real hard time coming up with the money to pay this money they need for these retirement payments, especially the fact they're losing industry, they're losing income, their real estate's going down. Here, the real estate's going down, way down. I mean, there's property here on the ocean selling for $1 million that I know group I was in bought it for $15 million.
Is there anything from a federal level you would do to fix any of these things?
Federal level on which way? You talking about?
Well, you brought them up.
What?
Well, you brought up the retirement fund and gambling and things like that. I just want to know from talking about running for the 7th district.
Yes.
What would you do as a congressman to promote any of these?
I think the states are in such bad shape. The federal government's going to have to step in, not necessarily give them money, but to help them. I mean, I can see a federal gambling law passed nationwide. I can see that. Now, they might give some states and some counties the right to vote whether they want to have it in their area. But I could definitely see a federal gambling law passed because we're getting so hard up for money. And another thing, we owe $16 trillion in bonds, right? The Chinese has $1.7 trillion of our debt, and they don't want any more. See, if they get all our factories and all our technology, what do they need us for now? They can go to Chile. In fact, they get 40% of the copper in the world. They get it all out of Chile and these different places. They're going into South Africa. They're going all over the place.
Let's take a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk about some of the broader national issues. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Harry Pavilack running for the 7th District Congressional seat. Welcome back to Carolina This Week. Harry Pavilack, who's running as a Democrat for the 7th Congressional District, is my guest this morning. I want to talk about some of the broader national issues that as a congressman you'd be representing South Carolina as a vote in Congress over. A lot of people who have come on here have said that they would try to start repealing Obamacare if they were elected. How do you feel about the president's health care law, and what would you do about it if you're elected?
You know, I'm really not really familiar with every phase of that Obamacare, but a lot of the things that I read and I heard at your function the other night, I mean, I think it sounds okay to me, frankly. And I know that he's pressing right now for the women vote real hard. The women were his in 08. In 10, all of a sudden they moved Republican, and now he's trying to move them back for 12. And there was a big write-up on that over the weekend in New York Times.
How about foreign policy? We've heard about what happened in Afghanistan over the last week, where a soldier killed 16 civilians, and it's really sparking the debate about whether we should be in that country. What would you do? Would you be pressing the military to get out of Afghanistan? Would you be part of that call in Congress?
I'll tell you, Afghanistan is a tough one. We've been there for a while. We've been fighting, and we spent a lot of money there. This thing that happened in the last couple of weeks, I mean, that's just something you can't predict. They said this guy had some brain damage in 2010, and he could have gone haywire, and he probably did. And now some of them are saying they want to kill him for what he did. But if he had mental problems or whatever, you know, he couldn't help it. The foreign policy nationally is sort of tough. I mean, if you listen to Ron Paul, he wants to bring back every troop we got to the U.S. and forget about having protection. But I think we need protection, especially in these countries. I mean, just like Iran, I know last week on a one-day, Obama said that he wasn't going to get involved in that, and then I think a lot of people came to Washington, they were yelling, screaming. Next day he said, I'm going to hit Iran on a minute's notice if it looks like they're going to do this nuclear bomb, because you know, just so many things in this foreign policy, especially over there in that Middle East. I've been there, and everything is so close together. You know, and if he has a bomb, I mean, and he hits Israel with it or Syria or whatever, they're going to get knocked off the map. So we just can't say we want to forget about it. We have to stay on top of all these situations, and it's going to cost us money. But as far as I'm concerned, we have to spend it.
I want to ask you two more questions. We don't have much time, only about a minute for both of them. The first one is, can a Democrat win this predominantly Republican district?
I think a Democrat can win. because all these Republicans are running in June, and naturally there can only be one winner of that whole group. They have some good people, they have experience, and they have a lot of money, but only one could win. So whichever Democrat we have that comes out on top will be running against that one person. And I think it's not predictable as we get down the road to this November election. I don't know. I think Obama's getting stronger. And if he gets stronger and stronger, people might just press one button, straight party vote. And if that happens, it doesn't matter who the Republican is that runs. So a lot of this thing's going to depend on how this plays out in the next few months. If Romney and this group keeps going all the way to the end, people are getting sick of it. And they're spending all their money. I don't know where they're getting any more money. If there were no super PACs, they'd all be out of business.
Let me ask my last question. You only have about 15 seconds to answer it. So quickly, why should I vote for you?
I think I know more about the world situation right now and how to cure our evils, especially bring back the factories, create new jobs. I'm for three things in this whole election. Just like Como said Sunday, jobs, jobs, jobs. And I think I can do it better than any Democratic candidate that we have.
All right. Harry Pavilack, Democrat running for the 7th Congressional District. Thanks for being with me this morning.
Thank you.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.